technology is always a solution in the crisis. So technology will be really handy. There are multiple areas in which this technology would be adopted. One area is in the conduction of admission tests. The other area where technology definitely will play a most important role is in the learning space.
For online education to really become mainstream and enroll millions of students rather than hundreds of thousands of students, we need to have online degrees that are accredited by the various agencies.
My message to all the students and the higher education stakeholders is we need to double our efforts in this time in order to sustain and keep our economy afloat.
In India, we have to look at technology and education 4.0 as actually providing education to the uneducated, people who are not getting quality education.
Education 3.0 was nothing but technology driven. This is now going to be a permanent feature and is now going to figure in all the teaching learning activities of times to come.
So today we have with us Dr. Neha Sharma, Director, Shanti Business School. Ma'am is a senior academic leader with 28 years of experience in corporates and academics. She is widely recognized as an expert in the area of turnaround management of academic institutions and has a demonstrated history of introducing innovation in teaching learning methods, full spectrum global collaborations and industry engagement for training, curriculum design and consulting in institution of higher learning. She is a recognized doctoral guide of Savitri Bai Phule Pune Institute and Symbiosis International University. She is a member of Advisory Committee for Ministry of Shipping. She has been lead consultant to MIDC, MMRDA, ICICI, Government of India, and many more such companies. Odisha Open University are some of them. She has conducted corporate training programs extensively across India. She has several research papers published in reputed journals to her credit. In her assignment, she serves as director of Shanti Business School Ahmedabad and chairperson of SBS Incubator. She mentors 7 startup business of Chiripal Group of Industries, which are at various level of developments from seed to Series B funding. We are glad to have you, ma'am. Welcome aboard. Next, we have with us Dr. DJ Shah. He has 28 plus years of experience in academics, research, and industry. He has done his PhD from MS University, Baroda. So has worked as a faculty head of electronics and communication department, dean of the engineering faculty at North Gujarat University, Dean Gujarat Technical University Ahmedabad, academic director of Nutan Sarwar Vidyalaya Kilwani, Vice Chancellor of the Sankalchan Patel University and Academic Director at the university, as CEO of Surge LED Technologies, etc. He has published more than 75 papers in national and international journals and has 1 patent on his name. He has guided 13 research scholars. His major area of research is image processing, artificial intelligence, IoT-based implementations, etc. He is known for policy preparation, implementation of proper procedures at various levels, drafting rules and regulations for workplace procurements, etc. His strength lies in team building, resource management, mentoring students, and executing most complex problems in hand. He has been a freelance consultant to various industries projects, AERB related consultancy services for type approval, authorization, etc. We are glad to have you, sir. Welcome aboard. Next, we have with us Dr. Vinny Mathur. With a PhD in management, specifically retail management, Dr. Mathur has worked in the corporate and business development roles for 4 years in the initial years of her career. She has been associated with academics for the last 20 years, including her 18 years tenure at MICA. She has been the PGP chair for the last 2 years, chairing the Rural Immersion Program, chaired the International Conference since 2016, and had chaired a 1-year retail program at MICA for 7 years. She has been instrumental in multiple in-house trainings for corporates like Crossworld, Hypercity, Philips, Mineral Oil Corporation. She has published and presented different papers at national and international conferences and even co-authored a textbook in retail management. She is a visiting panel for multiple institutes in India. Welcome aboard, ma'am. We are glad to have you. The next panelist that we have today with us is Dr. Ravi Miglani. Professor Miglani has 35 years of experience in the field of marketing research and consumer insights and has worked across the domain, including market research, consumer behavior, customer engagement, and research-based marketing consultancy. He did his postgraduate program in management from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad in 1983. He has worked across several countries in Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia before returning to India and joining Ahmedabad Institute in University. Professor Miglani brings long and valuable experience in advising multinational organizations on marketing strategy based on innovation consumer research. He has presented papers as European University for Opinion and Marketing Research conferences and has published various articles in journals and in the MRS Research magazine. We welcome you, sir. Welcome aboard. Two of the panelists are yet to come, so I'll just give their introductions. We have Dr. Prashanti Kothari, Institute Head, Shayana Business School, a human resource professional with over 12 years of experience. Ma'am is passionate about teaching, learning, and working with young minds. Her keen area of interest is organization behavior, human resource management, organization development, and change management and parenting. She has done his PhD in the area of non-cognitive skills. She is a lifetime member at the Indian Society for Training and Development, New Delhi. She has published and presented many research papers in national and international journals. She has been awarded for the best paper in field of non-cognitive skills. She has initiated management event at SIBM called Enigma since 2012, and it is still core activity at SIBM. She is a firm believer of positive attitude, and events like Black Swan and more students of her. The last panelist that we have with us is Mr. Dr. Satya Ranjan. He is an academician with 22 years of teaching and consultancy experience in the areas of financial management, idea generation, and entrepreneurship education. Dr. Satya Ranjan holds expertise in training, building entrepreneurs as well as grooming develop entrepreneurs. He has conducted various management development programs in areas such as agri-entrepreneurship, technology entrepreneurship, and business incubation. He has organized faculty development program on entrepreneurship teaching and startup incubation for Department of Education, Government of Gujarat. He is also director of Cradle, in Campus Incubation Center, that is Center for Advanced and Launching Enterprises, a DST sponsored center at EDDI. Welcome, sir. We are glad to have you. So, about the topics, starting from, we would like to start with Dr. Ravi Miglani. So, sir, what are your thoughts on how this whole COVID thing and the online mode has impacted students and B schools? How it is taken by them, what are the changes in their curriculum, and etc.
Thank you, Sakshi, and thank you everyone for attending. Just as a starter statement, I guess we'll discuss in more detail as we go along in this conversation. As a starter, the 2 points I wanted to make was, one, I think the situation that happened last year has taught us to be prepared and not get caught off guard. I think a lot of educational institutions last year had to pivot within days from offline education to online. So one thing that we will do going forward, I think all of us will be to be prepared and not to be caught off guard. And the second thing, which we'll discuss in more detail, but just to introduce the concept, I think we have a lot of academics that I come across basically try to just transplant their in-class method of teaching to online, and that we now know doesn't work. So we need to reinvent, and we can talk later on how I and some of my colleagues are reinventing it. We need to reinvent the way we conduct an online session. Standing in front of a Zoom camera and talking for an hour and a half is obviously not going to work in that environment. We lose people's attention within minutes. So students, to retain student attention and engagement, a totally new way has evolved in the last year on how to conduct online classes, and lectures don't work. So I'll just leave it at that, and we can come back to these topics during the conversation.
So next I would like to ask to Mr. Satya Ranjan Acharya to give his opening thoughts on the topic.
Yeah, I think thanks I fully support what Dr. Ravi Niglani Sahib has just said. We all try to change ourselves to the whole mode of online rather than completely equipped ourselves with the type of use of the content that need to be delivered. I'm into entrepreneurship education, and entrepreneurship education is more about action driven, where somebody has to work on his idea or a plan. Education is there, yes. Basic foundation courses can be typically discussed over any of the platform that we can use right now and talk about the concept. We can share the PowerPoint slides and everything. But something where you have to experiment that, yes, this is my idea and I want to check it out, that how many people are going to respond to such an idea, are they ready to buy or pay a price for that? I think there you need to have substantial amount of action orientation. So how these things can be done on a pure virtual environment is really a challenge, and we have to work a lot so that we can come out and give a better type of a solution to this particular type of courses. So I think online education depends on the type of courses we are offering. Certain courses, yes, it can be easily given to the student, but there will be certain courses where we feel there is a substantial challenge in offering these courses through online and keeping that attention level of the students for the period of the classes. Just in mind. Thank you for that.
So, Neha ma'am, would you like to add next to the conversation?
There is no denying that COVID or the pandemic has impacted the world. In fact, the difference here is that till now, in our classes, in our classrooms, we used to prepare our students for challenges that they would face in the industry. I think in a very long memory, or in my working memory of 28 years, this is the first time that the challenge of this scale has actually hit the academic institutions. I have never seen an academic institution ever facing this kind of a complex challenge. And this is the first time we as faculty and academicians have a fireside view of what a complex problem is and how to pivot to new ways with extreme agility without sacrificing the delivery processes and quality. And in my working life, this is the first time we have prepared a playbook of how to deal with a challenge. We always taught our students to be prepared for, be flexible, be prepared, be agile, pivot, and go closer to the problem, analyze it, prepare a playbook so that you can play it as and when required. But this we have done for the first time, and it has immensely benefited us. In fact, the times have been very tough, but the benefits that we will reap out of this time, they are long, they would be multifold, and we will reap it for a very long period of time. This is my thought. So challenge aside, good and bad, what it brought out is aside, but the benefits, if we look at it, they are multifold.
So I think Prashanti ma'am is here. Hello ma'am.
Hello Sakshi, I'm really sorry it took me long to join, and I was in touch with Anukalp because there was, I think, some network issues and something.
No issues ma'am. So
hello all the panelists.
Hi. Yeah, hi. So Mathur ma'am, would you like to add something how this has impacted these school people?
Yes. So as most of my co-panelists were saying, we were all initially, when we closed in March 2020, I think we thought it's a short-term kind of a challenge, and we would probably manage. So we started off with saying, okay, maybe next year orientation, by the time my students come back in July, maybe we would be safe. But then it obviously, as we all know, it was really uncertain kind of a year for all the educational institutes. But I think at MICA, for us, we were a bit prepared because we already had a very good standing in terms of online education. So we had a good number of courses which are already running all online. But the challenge was those courses were aiming generally at executives, working executives. But I think this generation that we are targeting at for the PGP courses, it was a challenge to hold them on to the screen. And that's wherein, after a lot of research and a lot of discussions with our international partners, we came to realize that the captivity online is a big challenge. And that's where we said, obviously, as Professor Ravi said, we cannot transplant the classes from offline to online. And that's wherein we realized we cannot go to the classes with a 75-minute classroom. So we broke it into, we said, okay, let's look at, so let's send something as a pre-recorded thing. So we started off with this 30, 45 and a small group of 36. So, those were our credentials. We developed this model called 30, 45, 36, wherein 30 we realized is the live interaction time. 30 is the pre-recorded time, like pre-recorded videos that we had sent for a lecture. 45-minute was the live session wherein we interacted with the students, and we broke down our groups further into smaller groups of 36 students. Because we realized on a Zoom screen, if you look at, that's the first level, or you can at least see. Now Zoom has also evolved, and now you can see 49 faces at a time. But that was one. Secondly, for us at MICA, because we had a lot of, our curriculum was designed around a lot of experiential learning. And that's wherein it was a major challenge for us, saying, because we do a lot of outside the class activities, we do a lot of community engagement activities. Those did become a challenge, but we kind of again innovated in terms of, for example, we had a concept which was a very important ingredient for us as far as orientation was considered, which was photo novel, wherein a group of students would develop a photo novel around a concept in groups, and then they present it to a panel. Now that was kind of converted into, because it was online, that got converted into a audio novel, and the faculty and the team really worked hard behind understanding what would be the bottlenecks, how could we design it in a way so as to enhance the learning for the learners. Third thing that we did, for example, rural immersion, which was an ethnographic study for us, which was wherein a group of students would go to rural India, engage with the community, and do certain projects with NGOs and organizations. Again, we identified organizations who are working with rural India. I know it's difficult to digest for a lot of us, saying how would digital and these technology work in rural India, but that did work for us with some of the organizations like CRY, UNICEF, and so on. And students did a brilliant job in terms of identifying. Now, as I said, while there were challenges in terms of changing our curriculum to suit the needs of this pandemic, which is going from offline to online, but we also look at the positive sides of it. Now, before this, it was very difficult to invite research scholars from outside India. Now, with this pandemic, I think this is a major opportunity that we capitalized on. Every fortnight, we would have a research scholar from anywhere in the globe, and we would have, make them present their ideas, their research, engage them. So this was, and so increasing our reach across the globe is an opportunity that we see as far as this pandemic is considered. So while there were challenges, we did need to modify our curriculum, wherein it was difficult, some part of the curriculum to be modified. But I think looking at the positive side, we also elaborated, we made it a lot of digital interventions and looking at the digital transformations. So a lot of courses were changed, the pedagogy was changed. And this, like as I said, we engaged a larger community from outside India as well.
Nice, ma'am. There were some really good initiatives that were taken. And so now I would like to ask Prashanti ma'am to add points from what happened at their institute, how our MBA students at their institute impacted.
Yeah, so because we are discussing about education, I would like to start about, whenever we discuss education, it has always been a topic which, require a lot of curiosity, lot of controversies, lot of debates, and lot of excitement. I mean, we are talking about the B schools, but if we start with the first stage of education, the first thing for a parent to come in mind is, should we go for open learning or homeschooling or conventional schooling? If we are sorted with that, then the another challenge which would come is which medium, which board, and which school. So basically, the debates and the controversies and the confusions and the excitement of education starts from the pre-primary level itself, and here we are talking about the business school students. Definitely the impact is going to be higher, but as I could hear just few my fellow panelists discussing about that, there is always a silver line in the cloud. And if we see at the positive side of it, as Mathur ma'am also has said, that learning is a very, very, very wide term. So a faculty sitting in front of the classroom and taking session, learning never limits itself over there. It is way, way, way beyond that. And if we just keep our eyes and our ear open, then we can learn anywhere from anybody. I'll just give you a very small example. So before, I think few years, my kid was 4-year-old and we were rushing somewhere. And I was hurrying, so I was calling the lift. And after some time, I just shouted, "Lift band karo." And immediately he popped up, "Nahi, lift chalu rakhna, darwaza band karo." And this was a point which he made me learn to use correct word at correct time. This was such a minutest thing, but that I'm carrying with myself forever. So when we are talking about shifting from offline to online mode of education, then I think it's a great opportunity, because in a lot of field, in medical, in IT, people were available. Doctors were taking help from all over the world. It is an opportunity when a student studying in Ahmedabad taking and making some comprehensive project, a research report, can reach to anybody sitting in Finland or Germany, US and UK and ask for the expert advice. And the humanity side of this pandemic has made each and everybody so soft from the heart that they are ready to help. As a faculty, if we learn, or if we just see ourselves, before this pandemic, we had our specific set of curriculum, we had our specific set of specialized skills. Now with this pandemic changes, we are so more eager to learn more and more and give our best to train ourselves so that we can best give our best to student. It could be just related to studies, or rather more beyond than that as well. So I think that now it is a high time that rather than being a degree specific education, we give more importance to interest based study. So it is an opportunity in that unfortunate situations and pandemic. Fortunately, we can use technology to customize the learning. That's what we have done at SIBM, that apart from the routine study, if the students are interested in something else, we are ready to provide that. So the learning become individualized learning and customized learning, and we can use technology positively over there. Second thing is, during this time, everybody must have faced that attention span of the student in online studies is a challenge. And for that, what we have tried is to motivate a student. So as an institute, we develop a system where we can ask student that they can connect to that subject matter, which when B school we make it a case study based education. For example, there are a lot of topics where we can use real life example considering the current scenario. So when we ask students to write a small caselets, when we ask them to get more connected to subject, it becomes very easy. And second thing is, they can set their own goals, they can check their own progress, and for that, timely feedback is something which is highly required to keep them going. Of course, extracurricular is very important thing and which is a big challenge, but it is not possible that we can completely cover it up. But just to initiate something, we have virtual clubs, virtual HR club, marketing club, finance club, creativity club, movie club, book review club. So what students can do is, one of the biggest missing of online studies, peer learning, peer interaction and social interaction. So by this virtual club, what they can do is they can connect at least to the people with whom they find the same interest. They find it could be with the form of the book also. It could be in the form of movies also. Students can write their blog, their poems, their drawing, and show it in front of the creativity club also. So this is one way where we can try and manage. There are few things with respect to recruitments to placement of the student. So I think lot of engineering colleges, lot of IT companies, they have the program called Campus Connect, and that's what I think it's right time that we also follow the same thing, because as a B school student, you anyways have to go for your summer internship programs. So during the summer internship, when we are in touch with the corporates, so this corporate can definitely have certain requirements from the market with respect to finance, with respect to HR, with respect to customers, with respect to their own potential gaps. So what they can do is they can ask us that what are the gaps. Student make their final project as well as their summer internship project on that. They work hard on it, and there are high chances that they get placed exactly in the corporate when they like to work with. Definitely there are other sources and the placements going on, but this is one way how Campus Connect program will be more beneficial for the corporate as well as for the student, because at one side we talk a lot about unemployment. On the other side, when we deal with the corporates, they talk about the right candidate, that they don't find the correct skills, correct candidate. So it is high time that we try and bridge the gap. We develop our student, and online education will definitely provide that skill set where apart from the routine courses, they get the time that they can explore everything in the world, and it is easily available. It is more cheaper than earlier, and we can definitely widen the skill scope. So these are certain things which we have planned out accordingly, and I feel that with certain challenges, but online education will definitely it will become a boom for the students, for having the customized learning and customized direction for the life. That's thank you so much for that.
Shah sir, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think my co-panelist has already discussed a lot of things about the challenges. But what I exactly want to convey is, see, basically the outcome of the graduates, the B school graduates, what we are preparing them for. Basically, we prepare them for facing the real-time challenges in the practical field, right? And this is probably, I think Dr. Neha has rightly said, this is the first time in probably my lifetime in academics that I have seen this kind of pandemic situation where we were academics was suffered like anything, right? So probably this is the first time that we as a faculty also has faced the real-time critical challenges, and then we have understood. See, 5 years back, if somebody was talking about that, let's have some online classes or online sessions or webinars, probably we always used to refuse. No, it's not fun, because we are not going to get, because the face-to-face interaction that basically helps more. But probably this pandemic has taught in this last nearly 1.5 years, that yes, this online system, online technology platforms can be useful. Probably this today's seminar would not have been possible, right? We might be doing something on one big auditorium and managing all the resources. But with the minimal resources and technology, today we are able to interact with a lot of guys, like within the groups, peer groups, with the international faculties, international scholars, research scholars. We are able to interact and give some better things to our students. At least that has helped. Even like what we had an advantage in a campus, at our campus, is that we have a hospital in the campus, and this hospital was having COVID patients also. So, like everyone knows that these times we were running really hard with the medicines as well as oxygen and the facilities. So all our medical college teams and medical college teams with the patient's treatment. But the faculties from management school, like our MBA institute as well as engineering college, and we were managing the patient support system, like oxygen, providing them facility, connecting them with their relatives at home, putting them in front of the camera, see, this is how your relative is doing, and then, so that has also helped them to understand the various case studies with reference to this pandemic real-time scenarios. So these learnings has really again passed to the students. So what I understand is that there are challenges. They are preparing graduates for facing real-time challenges, and probably this has given us the best example in our lifetime to teach them the best challenges that we have seen and what they can do. We used to teach them, right, in a management school, we teach them what are the plan A, plan B, plan C, everything, right? So probably this pandemic has given us an alternative. That what are the plan A? Plan A was that we used to have offline teaching. We always used to do it, but the moment it has failed last time that we were not able to do it, we had a plan B in execution, and then we did it wonderfully well. That's what I believe. That all academies has put their 100% efforts in implementing things in a better way so that we can actually get connected with our students. A real-time issue that like engaging them for 45 minutes or 60 minutes class in front of a camera has been really tough. But these graduates or these kids actually are like they are using mobile for anything. They are using mobile for long hours, and probably this habit of using mobile has probably sometime in this scenario has helped us also in a bit that at least for 35 to 40 minutes we were able to engage them. What we did during this time was that there are a lot of online tools available these days, technology tools which help like playing games during the classroom. A case study with a game, case study with a quiz has actually helped us to engage students for more time, more than 35 to 40 minutes. We are able to engage them for 50 minutes, and sometimes they used to tell us, "Sir, ये game चालू रखो." Fine. So by doing that, at least we were able to understand that they are still with us, and they have not just kept that camera off and moving around. So online webinars, and one good thing we were able to do it this time was connecting with alumni. Probably we all are ensuring that alumni sessions are happening, but a lot of alumni are not able to come physical to our campus and interact with the student. So this pandemic helped us to start an online webinar series with an alumni. We name it as alumni webinar series, and almost every week one alumni from across the world used to interact with our students. So that also helped them to see what are the job descriptions that they are actually looking for in the various industry, because only teaching in a class is not going to be suffice, right? So if they know what are the skill set required, probably that helps. So probably this pandemic has helped us in some way to evaluate a different mechanism to deliver the content, understanding the real-time scenarios, developing variety of skills, even with the professors also. I think some of the professors aging 60 near more than 55, 60, they may not have used the internet like anything. Even if we used to ask them, "Sir, aap mail check karo." They were saying, "Sir, I don't know how to check the mails." But today they are also delivering a lot of webinars. So IT skill has been developed for the faculties also, students also, and probably all in all, rightly all the panelists have said that this pandemic is going to help all of us in one or other way in a long term to reap the benefits out of this scenario.
So, sir, one of the things that I got from the discussion was one of the things that is coming again and again is peer learning and networking. So, Satya sir, would you like to add something on how it is being ensured or how it is being done, and even in the online mode, it will make sure that that still happens and that is not left out? Sir, you're not audible, I think. I don't know. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. So I think at TDI, what we have done is that every student, when they have an idea, they obviously they need to talk to the consumers and for whom the idea has been created. And another part is that they have to also interact with the investors and people who may be interested. So one of the biggest benefits the pandemic has given to us is that we could get some of the Silicon Valley investors to talk to our students also. So whether they're their ideas, when the Silicon Valley investors is actually getting somebody to Gujarat or Ahmedabad and interact with students physically is next to impossible. But we have some of the members from this community as already there at Silicon Valley and currently working with those people there. So getting those people through online has created this pandemic has actually helped us in terms of getting those investors and their viewpoint that how they visualize these ideas, whether this will be just as a local need in terms of Indian need, or there's a similar ideas can be given to an African market or let's say European market. I think those insights actually we could provide right now by getting those investors. So I think the pandemic actually created a substantial positive in terms of getting those international investor community talking to the student community and giving their ideas at how they can improve on this process.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir had to leave a little earlier because of some prior commitments. So thank you, sir, for being with us and sharing your thoughts.
Fine. Thank you.
So, as sir said that he has got some clients from the Silicon Valley to get hold of it. So, Ravi sir was talking about some reinventions that were done at the institute that he said that he'll be sharing later. So, sir, what were the reinvention and approaches that were followed at the colleges? Would you like to share?
Yes, yeah. I mean, many of those have been talked about by others as well. So, as I was saying, it's not so much the move from offline to online. I think what has happened with this move from offline to online is it has been a good excuse for us to kind of shake ourselves up and do things which we should have done 5-10 years ago, because the technology has been around for many years, for at least the past 5 or 6 years. This could have been done. So as a great man once said, never waste a good crisis. So we are, I think, doing well by not wasting a good crisis and using it as an excuse. For example, what the purpose of education, and I think theoretically all of us know, is not teaching. Teaching is not what's the purpose. Teaching is a means to an end. The ultimate purpose of education is the learning outcome that students take out of it, and learning for life and learning how to learn so that they can keep educating themselves for lifelong learning and so on. But in our old style of education, most of educational institutions were still focused on partly on input, as in teaching, standing in front of a classroom and doing lectures, or sorry, something is popped up on the screen. It's a poll. Either they were lecturing, as in focusing on the teaching. This is the textbook. Today is lecture 1. I'll do chapter 1. Tomorrow is lecture 2, chapter 2, and we complete the 26 chapters of the book, and that's done. I think what the last year has done to us, because that was not working, it was just infeasible to stand up in front of a Zoom camera and talk for 75 minutes. We have changed that, and what we are doing at Ahmedabad University, and I'm sure many of you are doing, is what we sometimes call flipped classrooms, where the lecture part, the boring bits, the reading the PPTs and so on, has been pre-recorded, and students read it in their time, and the classroom time is used for interface, for discussing, for brainstorming, for doing cases around that material, rather than standing in front of the classroom and talking. And what that has, at least to me as an educator and many of my faculty colleagues, is done is we have moved away from completing the curriculum and doing this 1 or 2 big exams in a semester and job done. That's not job done. We know that learning doesn't happen by listening for 4 months and then doing a big exam. Students obviously game the system, study a day before the exam, put it all out on the paper, and the day after everything is forgotten and we are back to square one. So what this has done to us very well, I think, is what I'm doing and many of my colleagues and you must be doing, is we are doing little modules. So you send a flipped class material to them, to the students, they read it, we discuss it, we do what we are calling micro quizzes. Every day there is a micro quiz to which gets the students to think about the main concepts they have learned from that module. We do a micro quiz, we do a discussion around it. If relevant, we show them a video around it or do a case discussion around it. And then, so that reinforces learning. So I think the focus has moved a lot from teaching to learning, and from learning to students taking ownership of their learning. What was happening in the physical classroom was students had outsourced their ownership of learning to the professor. That this is the big guy, he'll stand in front, he'll tell us, we'll take notes, we'll memorize the notes, we'll vomit it all out into a big exam, or finish, forget it. Now they are being forced to take ownership of their own learning through these micro quizzes, through doing these pre-readings before coming to the session and so on. So I think that's been one big change. And if I can say one other big change has been that we always thought that social interaction has to be face to face. Yes, of course, it will always be. Humans are social beings. It's always better to be face to face. But we have learned that a lot of good social interaction can happen digitally. For example, we have many clubs, extracurriculars clubs, from literary club, sports club, fitness club, food club, theater club, and so on. We thought it was impossible to do these clubs because clubs by definition mean students getting together and doing things. But students have reinvented themselves. I am myself the faculty mentor of the food club in my university, and students have come up with amazing ways of doing food online, as in they do demos, they do cooking shows, they bring in chefs to demo and show cooking online. They do bring panelists who talk about food writing, food photography. There have been workshops on how to do good food photography, etc. So a lot of things we have said nahi ho sakta, it cannot be done through online methods, is being done very well. And I think some of those things are being done even better because somehow, at least in my experience, we take things happening on Zoom and other such platforms more seriously. Like our faculty meetings are so much more efficient now because everyone comes on time, everyone pays attention, and we finish meetings in 30 minutes and everything is done. In offline meetings, we used to sit for 2 hours, chat, have chai, samosa, go on, and nothing got done. So in a way, I think a lot of good things have done. One last point is, again, there were a lot of our faculty colleagues who said some subjects can't be taught online because maths can't be taught online because I have to write equations on the blackboard. There are technological solutions. We use a lot of Miro. I don't know if some of you use Miro, which is a whiteboard solution and a sticky note solution, where you can freehand write equations on the whiteboard, on the screen. You can put sticky notes, you can play games, you can... so Miro is one of them, but there are a lot of other solutions which integrate with Zoom. So many of the things which 2 years ago we said can't be done online are being done online. It's just a matter of us opening our minds a little more. We as a species, we are resistant to change. Inertia is our default option, and if unless pushed, we don't change. And I think this was a good push, and we did change, I think.
So we have a question in the chat. Has there been any changes in evaluation methods and parameters as well, since giving more weightage to conventional methods of exams on online mode might not be very fruitful? So Neha ma'am, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we often see that not every teaching learning method can have the same method of evaluation. And during the pandemic, definitely the method of assessment have changed. We have come up with different things, like a simple solution that we came up when even if proctored exam was not possible, was rather than giving a question paper to the student, you could ask with certain guidelines for all the students to prepare their own question paper. So rather than faculty giving one question paper to the 240 students whom you have, every student prepares his or her own question paper. There are, of course, some set parameters on which they do it, but that ensures that no two question papers are same. And if they are copies of each other, then it is immediately visible that notes have got exchanged. So in this case, we not only evaluated the students on the answers that they gave, but the questions that they put up for themselves. what is the kind of challenge, what was the degree of challenge that they were accepting for themselves. Given a chance to design their own questions, were they relying on plucking the low-hanging fruits, or they were ready to take a leap of faith, go for higher end or deep learning questions. Similarly, projects, since problem-based and project-based learning has been a very important component of the entire pandemic. So the evaluation here is not on one day, 1 week or a month. A project is picked up and the entire journey of the project is mapped. So what the student learns, the student manager, how they learn and how they develop, how they understand the nitty-gritty of, because projects also give them the opportunity not just to solve a problem from the perspective of the course in which the project is given, but bring in ideas from the other courses that they are doing. And this is what we have always aimed at, isn't it? That can there be cross-functional application? How can we teach it? And pandemic, this kind of teaching learning, it has been a very, very remarkable opportunity for the faculty to actually do it without design. It just came naturally. Micro quizzes, spontaneous quizzes, case studies, solving case studies, writing case studies. An opportunity, a topic which has been taught, how does a student convert it into a case? And then that case is evaluated by the faculty. Have they understood the essence of what has been taught? So it has not necessarily, and I think in most of our cases, it has not been about pen and paper, typical question answer kind of a thing and evaluating on that. Everybody, every course, they have the opportunity and they have the liberty to see that what is the objective or what are the critical parameters on which they would like to judge or evaluate the students and design the assessment tools accordingly. Actually, peer learning is a very important aspect of any management education. And new assessment methods or new kind of projects that we have given them have given a lot of opportunity to ensure that there is enough and more peer learning during this time. So group projects, group activities, group analysis, etc. There, the students have come together. I would like to share one innovative practice that emerged during these times at Shanti Business School. So ideally, when the first year and second year MBA students, they come together, they mix together on the campus. They have ample opportunities to do that. Now here, the freshers joined in and physically the seniors were not available. And a lot of important learning out of the class takes place when there is interaction with your seniors. Therefore, projects were designed where there were mixed team of junior and senior students. So there were projects on which both of them had to work together. Both the objectives were solved. The freshers, they got to learn the foundational aspects. The seniors got in application because they were studying the specialization or the higher end of the subjects. And it also gave opportunity for them to beautifully mingle with each other, formally as well as informally, and learn from each other. The seniors to give the correct guidance to the juniors. And we made sure that that connect between the two groups, it does not break because we are offline. We are not offline and we are online. So to answer your question and the question, assessment and evaluation in a good institute will always depend on the situation, on the course, and it would never be the traditional pen and paper assessment because it does not do justice to a technical, to a application course like management. Thank you, sir.
So we have one more question in the chat. How has recruitment?
Just add on.
Sure, ma'am. Mathu ma'am, go ahead.
So yeah, I agree that this is we also understood that captivity is reduced for this generation, and that's wherein we use, rather than multiple quizzes like Professor Ravi said, we use polls as micro quizzes. So we said, okay, so that is one way to ensure that they are engaged throughout that even 45 minutes. So rather than having 5 questions together, I'll have 5 polls in the class, which would also be graded. So those were like micro quizzes that we use in throughout that 45 minutes to see that there are people who are engaged in that particular class. 2, I'll also like to kind of put forward this point. While we are talking about challenges and opportunities of the pandemic, actually we realized that if you look at the traditional assessment that most of us have been doing was backward looking, saying, okay, ye padha diya, iska, as I think one of my co-panelists also said, put it, mug it up and, throw it off. But what we have designed, taking a learning from the pandemic, we have designed a unique assessment method, which is forward looking, which is called the competency test. So we said, we would assess all the students on this competency test, which would be integration of different courses that they study each year. And there would be a panel from the industry, from the alumni, from my colleagues outside MICA, who would come and do a panel. This panel would assist them on different criteria based on learnings from not just one course. So you should be able to integrate something that you've studied in sales and distribution management, something that you would have studied in marketing research, saying if you do sales forecasting, what tools do you use in marketing research, and then how do you design a branding, for that. So we are trying to. So we have taken, this is one of the major learning, I should say, that we have taken from the pandemic, and we would continue this kind of assessment even post-pandemic. So there are these things. And as I think Neha madam also said, that the peer learning is very important. So, and again, if you look at the traditional way of assessment, it was in a group assignment, as we all know, there were a lot of free riders. But one of my colleague, what she does is, she said, okay, this is the task given beforehand. So each one of you have to do this task. And she doesn't form groups before the class. She said, you have to complete this. Each of you have to mentally prepare this task. And when you come into that 45-minute live session, there she makes those groups. So, which means that every student has contributed in the group activity and there are no free riders at all. So actually, if you look at, there are certain methods or certain changes that we have done in our delivery and assessment during the pandemic, which would go a long way for us to apply and to implement that even post pandemic. Thank you.
In fact,
Sure, ma'am. Go ahead.
So in fact, what Neha ma'am and Mathu ma'am has said, that this is a long journey and a very, very effective way. So what in SIBM we have done is, especially for the evaluation, and one point which I have said is connect the student with the subject matter. So for example, if I'm teaching attitude or if I'm teaching about perceptions and beliefs, then we ask the student to get the exact video where they can connect the theories which is matching with that particular video. They search it to write the caselets about the current situation. Now, this is fun way when they explore lot of things on attitude apart from what has been taught in the class, and exactly in that searching activity of the video, which is a fun watching. At the same time, the learning is happening more because when someone will come with a video from Nick Vujicic, someone will even come with a video of A.R. Rahman showing a tagline of hero. So the learning is more, motivation is more, it's a fun way, and assessment becomes much more easy. And for us, what happens is when they write caselets, so their communication is improving. At the same time, they can connect the theories which always has been the fundamental of management, that how we can connect the practical and the theory aspect together. So this pandemic has given us an opportunity where the assessment becomes much more meaningful, and we are sure about the fruitfulness of also the assessment. And this is something which, as both ma'am has suggested, that this will go forever, and we are sure that we are doing the right thing, and we are more satisfied with these methodologies now.
Yeah.
Just to add to what Professor Kothari was saying, we have actually become more transparent in our assessment during the pandemic. Right. Because here we are deploying innovative and novel and never before used tools. So we are very, very specific about the parameters on which they would be evaluated. And the student knows beforehand that these are the things, objectives, these are the aspects on which they would be marked, evaluated, and therefore the way they come out with the solution, or the way they come out with the answers, they are more specific. And this I really like, that students otherwise always complain. They have this persistent complaint about the teacher, that we really do not know how we have been assessed. And absolute transparency in the whole system has been brought in. The term and feedback actually reflects that students are more satisfied with their assessment. And we haven't assessed a fish for climbing a tree, or for a monkey for swimming. That this pandemic, that this new way of teaching, learning has done.
So basically, the assessment is more transparent, and it has been a more wholesome rather than just being theoretical as it was before. So another question that we have is, how has recruitment process changed, and how have different institutes worked towards this? So assessment is one part, and another thing in higher education is surely the placements recruitment. So how has these affected? So would you like to add something? Anyone would like to take this question?
In my opinion, and I think that is, especially for MBA, obviously, placement is the most important factor that students consider. That too, again, has been at least at our university, been a blessing in disguise, because earlier, again, our old mindset was that for campus recruitment, companies have to come on campus. That, given that we are in Ahmedabad and a large number of high-profile recruiting companies are not in Ahmedabad, they are in Mumbai and Bangalore and Delhi and so on, and to convince those companies to come on campus for campus recruitment had time implications, cost implications, and it wasn't very easy. This year, even last summer, but this summer now, we are being able to engage companies who are based in Mumbai, Bangalore, and even other parts of the world to do virtual campus recruitment. They actually spend the day on a platform, on a Zoom kind of platform, and go through the personal interaction, the group discussion, everything. So the base of companies that our students are getting exposed to has widened, actually. So that's been a good sign in our case.
So what has happened is that, as Professor Miglani said, that placement or career placement is extremely important part of management education. In fact, for a majority of students, that's the outcome that they are looking at. At SBS, we have always had a career readiness or a corporate readiness program, which prepares the students on various aspects so that they are ready to face the interviews, group tasks, or whatever as an assessment is doled out by the corporate. But this year, what we did was we had an assessment center, where even before the CRT program was rolled out, individuals were assessed on their current skills, current level of skills, and they had their own. We assessed them on 7 parameters, and the tool also gave their position within their class, in the community, because other colleges were also part of it. Where did they stand as compared to students in the other institutes? And what is the average score of a student anywhere in India? And based on this scorecard, almost a customized program in under the mentorship of a faculty was given to a student for more concerted preparation towards the placement process, which has benefited the students. The second thing which we realized early on, that the way we are under lockdown and we are online, similarly the recruitment process of the corporates is, whenever we start week 0, wherever we started, that is also going to be online. And till now, majority of our students, barring few exceptions where they were appearing for some international or global opportunities, they have been having a physical on-campus recruitment process they had been facing, which this year completely changed. Majority, that means more than 90% of the companies, they conducted an online recruitment process, and only a very few actually came down to the campus for a physical campus. So a lot of time in the corporate readiness program was devoted to preparing the students to face the interviews or group tasks or group discussions, sometimes story sharing, etc. The new tools that they deployed, the corporates deployed to handle that. So if till now you were only taking care of the dressing up part and their body language, etc., in the new normal, they had to understand how do they look, how do their hand movements look, how do they appear, what are the kind of pauses that that are expected from them when they are appearing for online interviews with the companies. This has been because the students initially were very, very skeptical about this particular thing, that whether they will be able to handle it. So giving them mock drills became important. And there again, because we were online, the alumni support and support from mid-level executives from the companies, it was forthcoming. If they were to come and train the students on the campus, it requires a lot of time dedication. A half a day or full day has to be devoted. But here, an hour or 2 hour of session could easily be conducted by them. Moreover, we did a proactive survey of the sectors where we have been placing our students to understand, and engaged with the HRs of the companies to understand how their process has undergone a change. So what are the new elements that they have introduced in their recruitment process, and proactively preempting those changes, we trained our student for it. The challenge that we also had this year was because the corporate recruitment program was online, therefore it was centralized, and generally it was for across India. So otherwise, we would fall under the Western region or in the Gujarat region. But now we were being slotted with the institutes from anywhere in India. We did not know with which institute our students would be slotted, and we had to be prepared more, because generally you understand the competency of students in your region, but knowing it for pan-India level, is another thing which had to be done. And as we completed our placement with the 100% results, I think whatever we learned and deployed has really worked. Now working on refining it for the next year.
We have added to again taking a cue from, I think it has again initially last year we were it was a challenge. We were getting prepared. We didn't knew this thing had happened. But two major things which we did at MICA was, one is we did a HR conclave. So wherein we brought together all different industry, people from different industries, and that helped more or less, because obviously networking in this particular area does help. Networking and relationships does help. Second, I was so interacting with the placement committee, and they said, Madam, earlier we used to do these mock drills, but that was for a group of students. There would be one mock interview or GD that they would be a part of it. But because we were online, we could facilitate each student with one mock interview and one mock GD, which means we were preparing individuals in terms of for the placement process. So this is wherein again, and we as some of my co-panelists were saying, we also got some good responses this year. We got some about 60 to 70% of the corporates were new, and but one thing which was not a challenge, but because it was online, the companies were skeptical, and that's wherein my students had to face larger number of rounds. So it was earlier, if it was 4 rounds which a corporate would do to kind of make a final decision on placement, it was probably 6 to 8 rounds that they need to undergo this time specifically because of online process and the pandemic. Thank you.
I think let me share my views on the, actually in between I left the network issue. This time with the I think recruitment, as I think other panelists also said, right, that yes, it has gone to multiple rounds than the earlier. But one good thing that helped us with our alumni series, that we were able to, when we started alumni series, many of our alumni came out with an alumni mentorship program also with their own suggestion. And their idea was that we want to mentor a student with their job description and skill requirements. So that helped also, that helps us in general, that what kind of actually job skills apart from a degree is required for this B school graduates. So that helped us to prepare them with the different rounds of technical trainings, aptitude trainings, soft skill trainings, and then the HR interactions. So that helps students to get themselves prepared for a variety of job opportunities. See, because job roles also have changed. Earlier we used to have standard jobs, but now this digital marketing domain also increased. Companies are also looking at the experts with reference to the security requirement, security management requirements. So there are different kinds, variety of job opportunities also is getting opened up because of this pandemic. So all these things we came to know with this alumni interactions, that yes, these kind of requirements are going to be there. So what is the skill set that they are looking for, and that also helped us to have increased recruitment with our graduates, and that creates a positive environment also, that yes, with the kind of changes that is happening, we are getting different kinds of job roles also. So it helps in general to the students. Also, we started with the business research club. So that business research club, a group of students is actually like an SSIP kind of stuff, where they are discussing on a business idea. So where we actually started inviting CEOs and CEOs of the company. What has happened is that with the interaction with the CEOs and CEOs, that actually they try to understand how our students are doing, and some of them got recruited directly, because then that helped them, because these guys are having some ideas, so that ideas can help them to have their business growing like anything, or that can help to their business idea. So probably we all have worked different ways to help each other and a community as a large with our different ideas. So probably innovative thinking that we used to teach in the class, that think out of box. So probably this is the right time that we have actually implemented thinking out of box, and probably industry also helped us in a one or other way in thinking different ways and implementing different ideas to help the students. Yeah, in general, the recruitment level across the country, probably across the globe, has gone down, So that is true, and that is not that we have to accept. But still, the recruitment scenario has improved with the different practices.
So rather than focusing on etiquettes, now we have taught students to more focus on netiquettes. How you so and that's what almost I think in my institute and rather all the institute is following thoroughly, as ma'am was saying. So we have made all the faculty, which they play a different role with 5 to 6 students. They have become a mentor of 5 to 6 students, and then they take care of each and everything with respect to placement, grooming, body language, communication and netiquettes, as we have just discussed. So it is again a good opportunity for us also to measure a lot of different things which we were not focusing earlier. So in a way, the placement and it definitely you see the results in the placement, because now nahi hoga ye soch ke we even try more. We put more focus on those things and the results are really beautiful.
Very true.
So yeah.
So from the discussion, we can conclude that the online mode has more been of a help in every aspect, be it recruitment, entrepreneurship, peer learning, or networking, rather than hampering the process of learning and everything. So any concluding remarks, anything that I have missed?
Can I say one thing as my concluding remark is we, again, whether in education or any field, our natural tendency is to regress to the mean, to go back to our old ways. And I think we'll need to remain vigilant that even after the pandemic ends, we do not go back to our old ways. And for that, I think technologically, at least at our university, and I'm sure many of your universities, we are making sure that our classrooms will always remain what we sometimes call blended classrooms or hybrid classrooms. So we are equipping our classrooms with all the technology needed, as in camera, tracking cameras, microphones, so that even when the pandemic ends, there will be some students who are either not able to or not willing to come to campus. So we will be able to run hybrid classrooms, as in some students are in the classroom while others are on Zoom, and the camera tracking of the instructor and microphones distributed across the classroom, so students in the classroom can be heard by those in Zoom and vice versa. So I think we should equip all this and remain ready for within 24 hours to move back to online, if not remain on online, but certainly remain hybrid, because for many years to come, this pandemic is not going away. There'll be wave 3, 4, 5, 6, and it will become endemic rather than a pandemic, but it will stay. So there'll always be situations where some students are not able to be in classroom, or some instructors are not able to be in the classroom. So we need to be on our guard to not go back to our old habits.
Yeah, so we have innovated we have done a innovation in terms of classroom, which is called Shamiana. So we had brought the class outside in the open space so as to maintain social distance. So it's a high-tech, technologically enabled classroom with very seats which are distant and open, and it's actually a tent that has been created. So as an experiment, because that was last year when we thought maybe we can start. So I think that is for a small class, and now there is a run or race amongst the faculty saying who would use that classroom, because it's very unique and innovative in that sense. And we would love to take classes under the tree.
I think at SBS, this pandemic has truly taken away the word impossible from our vocabulary. For the first time, I feel that nobody approaches me or approaches each other saying, oh, it is impossible. So at the beginning, the students had this apprehension that industry tour is such an important part, and we would not be able to have any industry or organizational tour. And we did so many virtual tours, industry and organizational tours online. And they were marvelous experience, because when we are visiting the physical industry, I don't say that that's not required, but because the actual feel of the floor is important. But here, each and every process could be seen in so much of detail, and we could bring to the classroom so many industries. And later, we have compiled it into a section in the library where various virtual tours are available. We, of course, we are promoted by a very, very important group, business conglomerate of Ahmedabad, the Chiripal Group, and we ourselves have 7 types of industry in-house. So the experiment started from there, where we videographed our own industry. But the similar thing, when we took it to the other industries, they were forthcoming in sharing the videos, and the managers who would take our students around in that. So these kind of experimentations have happened and have been successful. Actually, one of the greatest achievement of pandemic has been in our curriculum upgradation or curriculum review, where the pandemic effect has been integrated into each and every course that we teach. So earlier we were doing Industry 4 in immersion or integration, where data analytics was being spread across tools and platforms that would be used by students in a various specialization that were being integrated into the curriculum. A new thing which is which has happened and which will be rolled out now is that the impact of pandemic on various industry, especially digitization of industry, and how the students, when they join these industry, either sometimes they will have to lead that digitization or adapt it and become part of the industry. How that is happening. A lot of case studies like ENY, TCS, there are exemplary examples in India of how pandemic effect has been taken positively for the organization to move ahead. They have been integrated. And the third thing is that we have a capstone project where the student indulge in it from second semester through the 4th semester, a research project. Now, this project is specifically on impact of pandemic in the identified 12 sectors where our students are placed under the mentorship and guidance of 1 faculty, 1 industry person, and 1 alumni. So through 3 semesters, the first semester, the beginning, the basics, where research methodology, etc., has to be set up, that is guided by the faculty. The second semester, the mentor is an alumni with an experience in the industry. And the third semester, where the conclusions from the industry have to be integrated. Industry person comes in, and then all 3 sit together to do the final evaluation. So these are some changes, as Dr. Ravi Miglani said, that we hope that they remain with us, they become bolder and stronger, and make our entire teaching learning system and ecosystem more robust in the future. Thank you, Sakshi.
Yeah. So for us, like at Sakarchand Patel University, we had one advantage during this pandemic was that being in the same campus where the hospital, so healthcare facilities available, and then we have multidisciplinary education setup also available in the campus. So it has given us an advantage in terms of understanding different scenarios in administrative part as well as patient management and the campus management. So that also helped our students in learning or defining different case studies with the different industries, right? Because having engineering college having healthcare facility and hospital in the campus, what different kind of situations that we have faced, and what are the different alternatives in different scenarios, that has helped our faculty and the student a lot during this pandemic. But I think, as Dr. Ravi Manglani has rightly said, that this mixed mode of learning is not I think that we need to ensure that this mixed mode of learning continues for a long, because it will help students to have the experts from out of country to interact with the scholars, get their best knowledge, so they are not restricted to the understanding from the local domain, but they have a vast understanding of the different practices across the world. Because ultimately, when they are working with an industry, and especially like in a managerial job, they have to face different challenges in the different environments. So this probably a hybrid kind of an interaction, if it continues for a longer period, it is going to help the graduates more than anybody else. And we also as a faculty have to understand that change is inevitable. So this change, as we already adopted, but there are going to be futuristic changes also that we need to keep in mind, like the virtual tours. Virtual tours, earlier we never used to accept it, right? But when we started the virtual tour today, we understand, it can help us to understand the minute levels of processes in the industry, and that helps in decision-making process at a very level. So probably data analytics with those kind of tools is again an important tool that is going to help the better learning of the student. So probably, and this pandemic has helped us in other way to create different way of learning, facilitate students in that to altogether different environment to get best out of this situation and do the real-time practices in the future. So probably pandemic has helped to a larger extent than the loss to the community.
As a part of my concluding remark, I would definitely like to mention one thing here. SIBM is promoted by Shayona Group. It belongs to Shayona Group, and Shayona Group is the owner of Nav Gujarat Samay as well as Ahmedabad Mirror. Now, being in the media and the role of media, we have seen what has happened in the pandemic, that they have certain news and people have creeped for the negativity a lot. But being the part of media, Shayona as a group has taken an initiative that we, each and every student, have taken a pledge that we will never ever pass on or forward any negative message. It has to be only and only positivity which needs to be spread out. There are a lot of negativity outside in people's mind. So as a part of the media, though belong to the media group, we thoroughly take a pledge that no student will forward any message which is related to pandemic, which is related to corona, or which can spread negativity in the society at large. We will thoroughly talk about the positive implications, and each and every student, I proudly say that they have thoroughly followed. And one thing which we have continues, and as a faculty which we all have accepted and promoted, is learning continues. This has more and more learning, and we will keep on upgrading ourselves with lot of learning. So that continues. And that is the positive impact of the pandemic which we all have faced. And positivity, let positivity continue. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So thank you everyone for being a part of the discussion. It was a really insightful session, and I hope most of the doubts of attendees have been cleared. So we get that online mode has been more effective or is here to stay for a larger time. So let's just work on that. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you, Shakti.
Thank you all the panelists. It was great knowing each one of you. Thanks very much. Anytime you would like to connect with the Shanti Business School, we can reach out to each other for some collaborative processes. Thank you, Sakshi, for bringing all of us together on this platform.
So thank you all panelists. I'll just before closing, I think just would like to inform that this is a Sakarchand Patel University. This is a campus. This is the only campus in North Gujarat where we have engineering, management, and medical paramedic courses running together. And again, it's a totally public charitable trust, so there is no owner. Sakarchand Patel actually founded this trust before independence, and it still continues. So it's a long more than 75 years journey in healthcare and education in this region.
Commendable.
So it's open for all. You can visit anytime. we can have a new case studies with the interaction also.
That's great.
Certainly.
That's
Certainly.
great.
Thank you,
you.
Sakshi, for
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.